snow.
Yeah, interesting. And I'm in LA, so I'm like, no complaints. We had some rain, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that would have been nice. Yeah, we had like 3 inches of ice and then 10 inches of snow on top of it.
oh
And
my goodness. Oh my
yeah, so we're
goodness.
finally thawing out.
Yeah.
But I digress. This week's podcast featured a letter from someone who, I mean, it's a really relatable letter, even if you are not like me in midlife. But this is a person who talked about being known for kind of being like thin when they're young, and then as they got older, their body changed.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
happens if you're lucky enough to live long. Your body's going to change as you live.
Yeah.
And they have children, and they don't want to diet, but they felt like this urgency to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
And the thing that I remember just really picking up from this letter was like, change is inevitable. And I hope that letter writer appreciated that. But like, this letter really helped to share how body changes are hard.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm so glad that we connected over this letter, because I think your work and like helping like regulate the nervous system is so hard, because I think it is inevitable. If you are like lucky enough to stay alive, your body's going to change. But I'm curious, like, do you, I don't know, do you have any guesses on why you think like body changes are so hard for us? Like, what makes it such a hard thing?
Yeah, thank you for that overview for everyone who's joined. I think they're hard for a few different reasons. One, because it's such a big it's how the world sees us.
Yeah.
And so in that letter in particular, she got a lot of compliments on how thin she
Yes,
was.
I thought about that.
It
Yeah.
was a very focal point of how everyone saw her, and it was a part of her identity. There are some people, I don't know who they are, but some people who navigate this world and probably don't think about their bodies. But
Was.
when you are right, I was like, I don't know who they are. But when it's so ingrained in you due to societal conditioning that being thin or being a certain size is good or bad, then that sticks with you. And it sounds like it happened with her from a very young age.
Mhm.
And so there's one aspect. The second is, us who struggle with disordered eating. So, I say my view of my body is probably always going to be a little bit skewed. And so I have to use a
Mhm.
lot of tools and support to right size that. And then the third thing is, especially as women, hormones, like
Yeah. Yeah.
there are just so many things that happen. If you choose to give birth and have children,
Yeah.
that changes your body.
Mhm.
And so I think there are so many different things that impact that. And her story was pretty layered, like so many of us
Yes.
were.
Yeah, and if you're curious about this letter that we're talking about, first and foremost, this podcast features a letter from a listener who writes a letter to food. And if you want to know like more of the details, if you go to my latest post, you can see the letter. Like I printed the letter in there, so you can be like, I want to get all the like layers of gossip in there. It's all in there. And something that I appreciated what you said. I mean, I appreciated all of it, but one thing in particular that's sticking out to me is about how you said you appreciate your brain may be skewed about your body, and so you have tools that you have found that help you to just, did you say right size it? Or I can't remember what you said.
Right. So, yes.
Yeah, like would you be willing to share some of those tools? Like what you find helpful, or maybe your clients have found helpful?
Yeah, honestly, the biggest one, the first one that comes to mind is how I feel in my body, how I feel in my clothes. So I haven't weighed myself, uh, personally weighed myself outside of going to the doctor in over a
Mhm.
decade. Um, and then I've accidentally looked at the weight on the scale, but usually I turn around if I go to the doctor, I turn
Yeah.
around and I tell them, "Don't tell me." But then, if you have, like, my chart and it sends you the fucking chart and it recaps a
Yes.
billion
Yeah.
ways, and
Possible
so
to.
that has happened. So
Yeah.
right, so I've seen my weight, but I have not personally weighed myself, and that
Mhm.
is what works well for me. I'm accountable to myself in how I feel in my health and other ways. My accountability and those tools for me are movement,
Yeah.
actually looking at what I'm putting into my body, not doing anything perfectly.
Mhm.
Movement is a really big part of that. And then going back to how I feel in my clothes and in my body, that's actually the easiest way for me to know, oh, things feel a little, tight or
Mhm.
I feel a little uncomfortable or,
Mhm.
what's going on there. And it's not always attached to the idea that I need to do something about it.
Yeah,
I just
just
notice
noticing.
it. I'm just like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm eating yogurt right now. It's not the best, it's not, it's just, it's got a lot of sugar in it, but I'm like, I'm going to eat my yogurt and that's fine
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
But I may be bloated after, as a
Mhm.
woman, with menstrual cycle still, depending on the time of the month, I'm like ovulatory. I'm noticing like, oh, I'm actually more bloated. I'm actually kind of crampy
Yeah,
during this time of
yeah,
month.
yeah.
I didn't notice that 20 years ago, but now I'm noticing. I didn't notice anything 20 years ago, apparently.
Well, I think that's part of it is, like, as we age, we start to understand our bodies more. I mean, that's the great
Absolutely.
experience, especially if we can, like, block out kind of the noise that
Yeah.
cultural, expectations have of our bodies, like, we get to know it better. So, yeah, we like, there may be some foods that feel funky, but sometimes we want it anyway, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and so I think to your original question, those tools are like which me feel for me feels like the best tool is like, "Okay, how
Yeah.
do I feel in my body? How do I feel in my
Mhm.
clothes?
Mhm.
Am I still moving my body?" Because if I am still doing all the things that I know that keep me sane and feeling good on a
Yeah.
physical, emotional, mental, spiritual level, then I don't need to worry about my body. If I know I'm still going for my walks every day, if I know I'm still eating
Mhm.
in a way that makes me feel good, if I know like, yeah, my clothes don't feel perfect right now, but can I sit with that discomfort?
Yeah.
Then, I can move on.
Yeah.
I think I shared with this you would share this with you in the podcast. I believe that we have the right to feel good in our bodies for what, and that looks completely
Mhm.
different for everyone. It has nothing to do with weight. I want to feel good.
Yes.
And if I don't feel good, then I have more support. I still have a sponsor in my program.
Mhm.
I have, other tools that I can bring in to say, okay, what can I do? I want to feel better, but I'm not going
Mhm.
into it trying to lose weight or change the number on the scale because I don't even know what that number is.
If I was still on Twitter, I would have wanted to tweet what you just said, like, "We have the right to feel good in our bodies."
Yeah, yeah. And I think
Normalize that.
my background is in 12-step, how I started recovering from my eating disorder.
Mhm.
And, there, take what you like and leave the rest,
Yeah,
is a motto in 12-step rooms. And sometimes it felt like people were focused on dieting, and sometimes it was like, we can't look at
mhm.
our bodies. And,
Yeah,
um, the support and the sponsor that I've had for the past 13 years has reminded me that, we do have that right. And that's what works well for me is remembering that
yeah,
and
yeah,
how that shows up for me, and
yeah,
that's what works well for me, and I wanna feel good, I wanna be able to carry my 3.5-year-old who still wants me to pick her up every single day, and feel good, and feel strong and like I can do that. I go for runs. That is where I 1 run a week. I used to run more. I can't do more. The knees and the hips aren't working as well as they
oh,
used to.
I used to be a
Yeah.
runner too, my knees and my hips.
Oh,
They're
they're
like
done.
a couple years old, and I'm only
Yeah.
50.
Yeah, yeah, they're done, and so how can I be gentle with myself now? So now I'm
Right.
not trying to run half marathons, now it's like some days I just go for a walk.
Yeah.
When I had my daughter and, I guess in between after the clearance of being able to do movement, I wasn't walking before that, I was always high intensity, high, I wanna burn
Mm,
calories, whatever those are, again, because I didn't look at the scale, but now I go for walks and I get
yeah,
fresh air, and
yeah.
that for me feels good. I'm not even thinking about my body, I'm just like, "This feels good, I'm moving, I
Mm.
feel great." So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much focus on, like, high intensity exercise, especially
Yeah,
for people that I write for, people with PCOS, like and those are also folks who go through lots of body changes because of hormonal
yep,
fluctuations, and one thing that I have found is, like, you just like we were describing, like, everyone's gonna figure out what works for them, and there's, like, no diet sheet or diet book that's gonna have these, like, prescriptions that are gonna fit for everybody, and you gotta, like, kind of experiment, but also be really, like, curious instead of judgmental to
yep,
find I'm
yep,
assuming you went through a lot to, like, to figure that out, and there's something about taking a walk. I'm a big walker as well. I have a dog who is bananas, and his name is Doug, and, so we walk a lot, especially if I'm, like, writing a lot during the day, we'll go and walk, and it just feels so good to my body and my nervous system, and, um, as a human, I love, like, my nervous system feeling calm, but I also think as a clinician, like, when our nervous system is calmer, our insulin's lower, inflammation is lower, and again, with PCOS, that's like super important to help with managing symptoms. And if we're like worried about like, oh my gosh, I have to weigh a certain amount, I have to do so much intense exercise, it gets us away from all of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
like information to actually help us feel better in the long,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I'm, I've we aren't the only ones who felt that way. I'm a firm believer in how you do one thing is how you do everything. And for most of
Mhm.
my life, I did everything with high intensity. So I want to make the most money. I want the best job. I want to get like everything was just like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh." And I think for me, the shift has come with, uh, you know, come from my body changing, my life changing, my outlook changing. This mind body connection that I firmly believe in has been magnified in all areas of my life. We're talking about food, we're talking about body, but it really trickles into everything.
It sure
And so
does.
I'm not trying to be the best, I'm not trying to do all of that. I'm trying to do what works well for me. And some days just going outside for a walk works well for me. Um, I'm an earth sign, my son is an earth sign, and so I have a
Fine.
really
I have
okay.
triple sign.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I'm Virgo
Uh-huh.
Sun, Gemini rising. Okay. Oh, interesting. I have some air in me. I definitely have some air.
Yeah.
But I realize I feel the most connected to myself, to my higher power in
Mhm.
nature.
Yeah.
I keep bouncing back to the uh birth, the female aspect of it, if you have hormones and if you can birth, that changed everything for me. I think I read, I can't remember the name of the book, but it was about hormones. One of the first books, there are many now, about
Mhm.
hormones. And last year was also the first year where I attempted, very imperfectly, to eat, exercise, and work according to my cycle. And very imperfectly. But one thing I do notice is what I was doing prior to that is I was still going I would start my cycle, my menstrual cycle, and just go for a run anyway. I was just doing it anyway because
Mhm.
it's what I was used
Like
to. So
autopilot.
autopilot. So I was like,
Yeah.
this is what I do because it's Monday and this is the day. And now I look at my app and I'm like, girl, I listen to my body. I look at the app and I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that today. We're gonna go for this walk. And if when you hit follicular or luteal and you feel like doing something different,
Right.
then we can do that. But you literally, my body is not wired to do that right now. And it's what
Mhm.
I've read is that it's actually counterproductive,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
your point with the PCOS. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's something about living with PCOS, which I don't have PCOS. I just have worked with lots of people with it, but there's something about the condition that like they get impacted before everybody else. So
yeah,
yeah, something like I just think if you have PCOS, you probably need more boundaries, more
yeah,
rest,
yeah,
more attention to like your nervous system. So I hope you have if you have PCOS and you're listening, you have someone like Shanetta on your team, but that can
yeah.
help you go with like with your nervous system regulation. And I know we need to wrap up, but there's one thing that we mentioned very early on that I would love to like just brainstorm a little bit. And because you mentioned not when you get weighed at the doctor, like turning around, and that was something that doing that has been so helpful for so many of my clients, whether they have been in recovery from an eating disorder or just are like, I'm just too paying too much attention to my weight. I don't want to give that energy to something that is meaningless or something I want to be meaningless. Um, and I know for me, I've like attempted many times at the doctor to be like, I don't want to be weight today and being pushed to do it. And I'm like, Lord.
Yeah.
um, and so have you found any pushback when you've done that or any kind of like things that you'll say to help just advocate yourself for yourself at the doctor to not know your weight?
Interesting. No, no, I've never received pushback, perhaps because I'm not telling them not to. I'm just turning around. I'm like, I
Mm,
don't want to see it until I just turn around. So they can do whatever they
yeah,
need to do. I'm just like, don't
that's
show me. And I
yeah.
also think one thing that was told to me years ago is that, in addition to me checking in, knowing how I feel in my body, how I feel in my clothes, um, also trust I have a pretty good provider right now, a primary doctor. If
Mhm.
something is very off or if there's a big variance from the last time I saw him, I trust that he'll flag it for me,
He'll
you know?
let you "Hey,
And
something's
so
going on."
yeah, he'll like, "Hey, you gained 50 pounds in the last 3 months," or whatever
Yeah, if your
it
brain's
is,
like worried about that, he could just, like,
Yeah,
for you.
exactly, like, I trust him. I trust my agency, so I trust my agency enough to be like, "I don't wanna see it, I'm just gonna turn around."
Yeah.
Because for me, that number on the scale ruled my life. And
Yeah.
it was the beginning. It was never the end because it never ended, but it was the beginning of everything. And what I
Mhm.
realized about my body and my history with bulimia and compulsive overeating was I never it was always a 10-pound variance. So I was in
Mhm.
a deep depth of disordered eating over 10 pounds, you
Which is
know?
not a not an unusual amount for
Yeah,
people to have in variance in a month, especially with
yeah,
hormonal fluctuations.
yeah. It was maybe 10 pounds, and so when I look back, I'm like, "Girl," like, and
So much
since
energy,
yeah,
right?
it's so much energy, and since not dieting, not looking at the scale, not doing any of those things, I my weight is it's probably 5 pounds is what the variance is. I would
Mm,
assume,
yeah.
And I also wanna add in that, my intention with food is to eat and move on
Okay, keep it
versus
yeah,
it being the center of my
yeah,
day. I enjoy it just
yeah.
like I wanna feel good in my body, but I'm
Mhm,
not the way I eat, and I'm not thinking about it anymore. My book
mhm.
club, this is a whole other subject. Get that from, the GLP-1s, but my
Yeah.
food noise got really quiet once I stopped focusing on the scale, once
Mhm.
I started to have life in between my meals, a lot of life,
Yeah.
and I did whatever my sponsor told me to do, so
You rely on someone else who's been
Yeah,
there for you, which I
yeah,
lived experience is so underrated.
yeah,
Um, Connecting with people who have similar lived experience, I think, is like one of the best things anyone can do to recover from anything. But yeah, like helping your brain practice not thinking about food,
yeah,
and just like widening that time,
yeah,
so then your brain gets used to not thinking about it. Um, it can be done. I know, and for so many people I've
yeah,
worked with over the years, like food noise or food cravings or however they're naming it, it's just all consuming. And to not think about food just seems inaccessible, but it is. I
yeah,
think, like you said, like making sure you're eating enough, like eating and like putting the power of like what you're eating like in the place it needs to be instead of like everything. It's just like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. 2 things that came up really quickly, I know we're over, but I'm feeling good. Is that idea that of the food noise, I thought about food all day,
Yeah.
every day, what I was gonna eat, what I wasn't gonna eat, diet, like, it was constant, so I am living proof that it it does not have to be that way. When I
Mhm.
look back to my life and what I was focusing on, it was all day, every day. It ruled my life. I got to the point when I was blacking out with food. I was like, "I'm not gonna eat that," and I ate it, and I'm like, "I don't even remember eating it." Similar to what an alcoholic would do when they talk about a drug. And so and I say that because I think I stand here and I've been in recovery for over 13 years, and to see how far I have come with
Mhm.
consuming my life to it being just a part of how I nourish my body or enjoy. I'm going out tonight, I have wine and dinner with a friend, and I'm not
Mhm.
scouring the menu. I'm not she gave a couple options. I was like, "Girl, I don't have time to look at this." Whichever one works,
Yeah.
but before even just going out to dinner, it was like, "Well, I have to eat at this time and then this, and let me make sure there's something on the menu that I'll enjoy, then it has to be the best thing ever," Um,
Mhm.
I there's it's freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is actual freedom, and so I think, if anyone who's joined is in the depths of it or is feeling like they can't get out of it, um, it's possible. Like, it's actually really
Yeah.
possible because that person, 14 years ago was a hot mess, and
Mhm.
I still work towards maintaining that serenity. You also mentioned, the community is really important. I'm obviously a
Mhm.
Black woman. I was close to hitting a bottom and read a story at work one day about a Black woman with an eating disorder, and that was the first time I was like, "Oh, this is this can happen to us as well."
Oh,
Day I went to the doctor. I was also having digestive issues.
yeah, that'll happen with an eating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found and also I'm all over the place, but if anyone watches The Pit on the last
Yes.
yes, yes, someone flagged it for me, and I was like, "Yes, they
I
got it
know. They do such a great job of weaving in things.
right."
It's not perfect, but they weave in some stuff because they had some stuff on weight stigma last season, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Never seen this before in a medical
Yeah.
show." Anyway, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, I feel like they do a really good job, and so,
Yeah.
anyway, for me, that feeling seen and caught, honestly, a little bit, was the
Mhm.
beginning for me of, like, okay, something's happening here, and then I finally felt like I could say what was going on with me because I saw someone who looked like me, who
Yeah.
also struggled with it too, so
Yeah. Well, you shared and you were really vulnerable in the episode, like sharing your lived experience. And so I remember being very grateful that you did that because I mean that's hard. So thank you again for like sharing and naming everything that you're saying here because that's how, like you said, like that's how you recognize, oh, I have this thing with a name and this can happen to me too. And like so someone
yeah.
else is going to have that connection and like this will be like the day that they are able to start moving forward too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I've been so open about it that it feels really free, and the things that I've done with food have been ridiculous. So I I'm like, well, I've done the worst things with food. I've eaten frozen food. I've eaten out of the trash. It gets
yeah.
really dirty, and
Well,
so
yeah, people have done a lot of things that would surprise folks, and
yep,
the whole reason why I did my podcast, I mean, I've done it for 10 years now. The whole reason is because I would sit with clients who felt so ashamed because of
yeah,
those behaviors,
it's
but I was like,
shame.
I've heard all the
Oh,
behaviors you can
yep,
imagine. Like, there's y'all are like, I wish you didn't feel so much shame because
mhm,
all this energy is going to the shame when if you realize you're not alone,
yeah,
you actually could like start moving forward. And yeah, like there's no food behavior that I could hear at this point that
yep,
would surprise me. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I've heard everything.
yep, yep,
Um, so yeah, and like that perfection that you mentioned earlier, like with food, like it just doesn't exist. So like once you really name that and like, "Okay, I have a problem. It's time to, like, recover." That's when the magic happens, right? So
absolutely. That I feel like that is when my life started. Like, I don't know what I literally, I guess, tangibly know what I was doing before then, but especially my spiritual journey, that was the beginning. I was in therapy before. I'd never told the therapist. I was just like, "Yeah, I'm just, like, anxious about work," and just
yeah,
tell her I was not
easy
eating
life.
and throwing up. And she's like, "Okay, well, you seem fine." I was like, "Yeah, just anxious." And so
Yeah.
when I finally got clear and clean about what I was doing, that
Mhm.
literally, like, my life started, and I got to, like, work on other things because I still have things in my life, but food isn't one of them. Like, there are other things that I'm working on,
Mhm.
but I don't think I would have been able to work on them had I not gotten support for them. I don't think you can, it's
Yeah.
such a Band-Aid, and it's such a symptom of so
Mhm.
many other things, and so
Mhm.
once I did that, and I was like, "Oh, childhood trauma, like, mommy
And
issues,
blood. It's
like,
yeah.
what?" And so it was literally the catalyst for everything, and
Yeah.
I would never think that now I'm so grateful for my eating disorder because it saved me, it saved me as a child, it helped me to get to where I am, and I get to talk about it and share my experience,
Mhm.
and I'm grateful for it. I don't think
I'm
I've ever said it out loud, but I'm actually grateful for it. Yeah.
well, and I'm grateful that you're naming all the layers to it and how complex it is, but also how it's so doable to move forward anyway.
Yeah.
Um I am wondering if someone is, like, new to your work, where can they go to find out more about you? And also, I know you have some like, a project you're working on. I would love for you to share with the
Yes.
audience about
Yes.
that.
Great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
So if you Google Shanetta McDonald, I will pop up. On Instagram, I am Shanetta McDonald. I'm on Substack. I believe it's my name, Shanetta McDonald with Your Body
Mhm,
Knows is the name of the
mhm.
Substack magazine. It's attached to a podcast. So those are the best ways you can find me. I'm also on the coaching side working on it's a free workshop called No More Sunday Scaries. This idea came from me working with so many women who were just fearful about their weeks, and even in the planning and the going through the week was running over them versus them getting ahead of their week. And so it's a workshop for women to reset, get clear, and have systematic practices going into the week. I am doing it for the next 4 weeks. Again, it's completely free, 45 minutes, 4 p.m. PST. But if you go to my Instagram, and I just put it in the Substack, you can find more information about
Yes, I put a
yeah.
link to just now in the, like, the
It
chat box. I hope that's the right link. But yeah, the the event you have planned. It sounds really cool, and I'm like, "Ooh, I think I need that too." So,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
and if you're catching this live late, don't worry. I'm gonna send out, the recording so you can get to it. I'll send out in the next day or 2, but thank you so much, Nana, for everything.
Thank
I'm so glad we connected. I hope we
we appreciate it.
thank you for your work that you're doing. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you too. Grateful.
Good. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.